This is Ray White with Classic Artists Today, and we have with us this week Gene, Daddy G Barge, who played an instrumental role back in the days of the 50s with Stax Records, Chess Records, Gary U.S. Bonds back when he hit the scene. And appreciate you being here today with us, Gene.
Well, it's my pleasure. I'm glad to be with you.
Super. Well, you've been doing a lot of things nowadays. I know you've got a doo-wop tour that recently you've been a part of. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm with a group of promoters named Canterbury Productions, headed by a fellow by the name of Henry Farrick. And they've been doing these nostalgic shows for a number of years. And off and on I've been in some of them. And I sort of was in on the original planning of doing these shows with them. So they sort of keep me around for some unknown reasons. So I'm on these shows with them. So I'm in and out. I don't do all of them, but intermittently I do shows with them.
And they tour all around the country, usually all year round, or in the summertime? Or?
No, they tour all over the country whenever he can get the right venues and the right timing. I've been to San Antonio, I've been to Dallas, Fort Worth in the recent months, and Waukegan, Buffalo, New York. We've been all over the place.
And the fans are well receiving the efforts?
Yeah, well, a lot of people sort of sit there and just go into their nostalgic mood with these shows, or remembering the days when they were in high school, when they were going to the hops and the various functions that this music sort of provided a soundtrack for them in their younger days, and it sort of brings back fond memories for them, you know. So we've been into theaters like the Fox in Atlanta and the Fox Theater also in St. Louis, and we were just about sold out in these places. Older people, people who remember the music. You know, that's what the audience consists of.
That's great. Now, also, you're in a band called Chicago Rhythm and Blues Kings.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, this band originally was called Big Twist and the Mellow Fellows.
Oh, yeah.
And Larry Nolan was Big Twist, and they came from Southern Illinois, Carbondale. The band originated down there. That's where Southern Illinois University is also. In fact, we just played a concert there 2 weeks ago in Southern Illinois on campus, where about 4,000 people turned out to see us. The Big Twist died, and so the band reorganized, not using the Mellow Fellows name, but got a new name, Chicago's Rhythm and Blues King. And I became, how I got affiliated with these fellows was that I was on the road, you know, and they had been looking up some of the music that I had done. They started doing a song called "We're Gonna Make It." They covered that song out on their dates, and they were looking up the writers, and I was one of the writers for Little Milton on "We're Gonna Make It."
Right.
And I also played the sax solo on that recording. So they were kind of impressed with some of those recordings that we did with Chess. So we need to get that arranger. That's help arrange some of that music, or wrote some of that music. So they found me in Chicago. I was on the road with the Rolling Stones at the time when they were making these discoveries about me. So when I got off the road in 1982, around 83, early part of 83, that's when they found me, asked me would I come in and do some things with them. So that's how I started.
Now, the days with the Rolling Stones, I bet those were interesting days.
Yes, very much so. Get a chance to work with the greatest touring band ever. So that was a real great experience.
Now, was there several guys in the horn section along with yourself?
No. The Rolling Stones and Bobby Keys, saxophone from Texas, and myself. We were only two horns. This is a group. So there were only three Americans on the stage. That was Bobby Keys, myself, Chuck Leavell, who used to play with Allman Brothers.
Yeah, C-Level.
C-Level, and myself. We were the only three Americans in the band.
So you just played on tour with them. You didn't do any studio work?
No, they didn't record anything during that summer of '82. They had just come from America in '81 to and Ernie Watts was the other saxophone player during that tour, and he didn't want to make Europe, so I had met Mick Jagger a year or so ago before that, and so he hired me. He called me.
And as I mentioned earlier in the intro, Gary U.S. Bond's an interesting story on A Night with Daddy G, a song that you had written and that Gary had heard. Tell us a little bit about the evolution of that song.
Well, first of all, Gary lived in my neighborhood. We lived over in an area of Norfolk called Lindenwood, and that's not far from Church Street, the part of Lindenwood. And so there was a nice little sleepy neighborhood over there, right on the other side of Huntersville. Mm-hmm. And he was just a little kid running around the neighborhood, and the next thing I know, he had recorded this song. Which had absolutely nothing to do with Gary. Guida wanted me to sign with his label because I had had some success with the solo that I did on Chuck Willis's C.C. Rider around 1957 in New York for Atlantic Records. So C.C. Rider took off and was a big hit, and then Atlantic called me back to do Dupree's Blues, which was the follow-up for C.C. Rider. And so Guida had heard about these. I used to go in the record shop, buy records and talk to. He would come out and see me in there and come out and talk to me,
Right.
So he'd ask me about recording. I wasn't affiliated with any record company, so I had a record out on Chess Records in 1955 called Country, and my recording contract with Chess Records had expired, so I went on the side of the thing with Guida. And we recorded. One of the first things I recorded was a song called Autumn Leaves, which was a pop tune at the time, and it was a vocal. I didn't play horn on it. I just sung it, and then we decided to try to do an instrumental based on the shout band at Bishop Grace's church and on Church Street. I had heard this band, and this band was really a great band, a very inspirational, uplifting kind of a band with a great beat. And people used to shout on this band. They called it a shout band.
In Church Street here in Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah, and we used to go. When we were kids, we used to slip in there just to see the band, And we started laughing and people shouting, and the guards, they had what's called guards for the church, and they were like ushers, but they were really guards with uniforms. Right. There were special uniforms that, and they put us out of church too, kicked us out. And so as it turns out, some of the guys I went to high school with, the different brothers were a little ahead of me, and Frank Wilson and Emmett Shields, we called him Nab Shields, and a lot of fellows played in that band. Okay, so as well as the Booker T band, some of them played in the Booker T band at the time, and then this was a little ahead of me, and so we tried to emulate or replicate that kind of a sound on records, So I come up with this little tune, and so we decided what we're gonna call it. And how about A Night with Daddy G? It was supposed to emulate A Night with Daddy Grace, I was supposed, but by my name being Gene, everybody thought it was like Gene Barge. It was A Night with Gene,
Yeah.
So.